Hello, 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 hello. Oh, good. Okay. So, we're talking about eclipse season. Let's see what's up, honestly. Let's see not just what's up. Eclipse season, this eclipse season, I guess we can start with the astrology. Oh my goodness, it's about to be an eclipse season for the books. It's about to be an eclipse season for the books. That's what this one is. That's what we've got going on. This one's about to be an eclipse season for the books. This eclipse season, we're at the beginning of a north node and south node cycle. So we have about a year and a half until it filters out. We also have our north node in Pisces, which is first of all crazy because the north node it ends up having a lot of people follow their spiritual paths because it's like getting out of our comfort zones and doing things differently and following our purpose that's high up in the sky. Normally, people who are doing that North Node Pisces, North Node work, they are following some kind of spiritual path. And Pisces has to do with our spirituality and our spiritual path. So it's really, really interesting to me that we have such a steep incline of our spiritual practices right now. It's like such a steep incline with that North Node in Pisces. So that looking into this season, the new moon was ruled by Pisces. We're about to have a full moon that's in Virgo. Not quite yet today, but it'll be tomorrow. That's when the third quarter moon in Gemini is going to come up. Moon's already in Gemini, but the third quarter moon in Gemini is going to come up. So we're going to see more, how do I say? We're going to see more directionality. And that's really what I wanted to sit and look at today. Directionality. What is it that we need to see directionally for the eclipse season? Interesting. Let's see. Let's look and see. Oh, and Justice at the bottom of the deck already. Okay, Justice. Love you, Justice. How interesting. Let's see. Also, thank you. Thanks. Welcome in. Commitments. We are making commitments this eclipse season. Yes, that's true. We are making commitments this eclipse season. We're making commitments and we're sticking to them because we've got about a year and a half of this energy. So we're making commitments, and as we stick to them, I guess let's see what happens. What happens? I keep hearing too that this year is going to bring a lot of change. And one of the things that Spirit keeps reminding me is that this year with the moon is the year of the snake. And so there's lots of shedding, lots of shedding as the snake would shed its skin. It's like being in tune with that animal, lots of shedding. So something else to keep in mind. Oh my goodness. Leading with the heart that we cannot find. Interesting. Leading with the heart that we cannot find instead of trying to berate the mind. Making commitments and then having our heart show us where we need to go. Okay. Making commitments and then having our heart show us where we need to go. No longer being alone. Interesting. No longer being alone. This card keeps coming out. The Hermit keeps coming out in multiple decks recently as I've been doing readings, and I've been getting this feeling every time that I see the Hermit recently. It's like we're solitary, but we're not by ourselves. We're individual, but we're not alone anymore. Or like it's like we're in our singularity, but we're still around other people. And I keep feeling that when the Hermit comes out, and that's how I feel about it right now as it's sitting in front of me. We also have the King of Swords, so it's King of Cups, King of Swords, lots of masculine energy, getting stuff done, apparently getting stuff done, charging forward, really the charge forward is what I hear about that, really getting the charge forward, oh my goodness. Oh, the heart we can't find because of Venus retrograde. You know what, actually that's kind of a good point. This Venus retrograde for me has been really interesting because it's been clearing. Like the minute that the retrograde flipped, like it flipped into a retrograde, immediately my energy was like, we got to get rid of this old cycle since Venus was retrograde previously a year and a half ago. We've got to get rid of this old cycle and be done and focus on things like new things coming through. It's also a time of grounding, like things that you've been wanting for about a year and a half are now able to ground with the Venus energy, the Venus retrograde energy. So the heart that we can't find, it's also, let's read more into that. The heart that we can't find, and also relying on the mind. It's like, because we have both the heart and the mind. It's the cups and the swords, both the heart and the mind. Interesting. Leaving something behind also. Leaving something behind, it's like always needing to be in the mind, leaving that behind, which is quite curious. That makes sense though, because the North Node's not in Aries anymore. And the North Node being in Aries was like a heavy mental processing. Aries rules our heads. So having the North Node in Aries was like constantly thinking up new logic and having new ideas and like morphing our minds into something different. And now that we are not with that energy anymore, we're in a different space. And so our minds kind of get to relax again. Thank the gods. I'm so grateful for that. Our minds get to relax again. Hello to you too. So we don't have to, how do I say this? Oh my goodness. We don't have to have such a like strength in mind either, because the North Node asks us to do really uncomfortable stuff. So having a, that's real true. Having a, okay, and okay, huh, huh. Hmm. I think I am gonna do that. How interesting. No, leave it. Let it rest. Let it rest. Okay. Let it rest. So yeah, the mind, the strangers of the mind. I'm burning resin and it's like getting in my, it's not bad that it's getting into, as it is, it's just really different. It's like hitting the back of my throat differently. Very, very strange. Anyway, so I was contemplating in myself if I needed to go and like, do I need to let it rest? Do I need to? It is what it is. Okay. So yeah, so now that the North Node is not in Pisces, we don't, or North Node is in Pisces, it's not in Aries anymore. We don't have to fight in our minds either, because a lot of the times that Aries energy is like fighting just because we can. So uncomfortable is the theme of the year, I fear. I have a feeling things are going to be uncomfortable this year. Hopefully in a good way. The uncomfortabilities I've been approaching recently, I don't know if this is true for everyone, but this is what's been happening for me. The uncomfortabilities that I've been approaching recently have been uncomfortabilities of like things that I've wanted. It's like I want this thing, so I need to become uncomfortable because I haven't ever had it or I don't have it yet. So that's been the uncomfortable that I've been sitting with. Okay, let's clear this. No. Why do I feel like I keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? That's kind of the energy of the eclipse season, to be honest. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's like I want to do this, we kind of gotta go over here and do this. Want to do this, gotta go over here and do this. Want to do this, gotta go over here and do this. Want to do this, gotta go over here and do this. And because right now, let's talk about kind of the moons too, because that is kind of the energy as we're walking into the next two, like the full moon and the next new moon that's happening on the 29th, and both of those are the eclipses, because it's like I want to do this, but we have to go over here and do this. Want to do this, have to, because the new moon that's at the end of the month, it closes out a cycle. So when we get to the end of the month, we're done with it. We're starting a new cycle. Yes, it's a new moon, but we're also finished with that North Node in Aries. And so we're like closing something out. Our door opens for us. We walk into something different because of that. While simultaneously, we're in the energy right now. The full moon hasn't happened. So that full moon eclipse, oh my goodness, so intense. That full moon eclipse, it's gonna illuminate the cycle that we're already naturally in with Virgo. And because it's a full moon, there's the possibility of things being cleared or cleansed. Whereas the Aries eclipse is like finalities. So it's like the full moon is here's some revelations, here's some clarity, here's some revealings, here's some ideas, here's a real big view on what did you do? What did you do? What did you brew? What did your magic do? What have you created for yourself? Here, understand it. Here, look at it. Here, open-handed, let it land. Here. That's what the full moon in Virgo is. And then we get to the new moon in Aries and it's like, oh, and do you remember everything that you've been through to make it to this? Okay, well, now we're done with it. And so because of that, oh, it's just a lot of like the back and forth, the back and forth. This eclipse season has, because of the Aries energy, some volatility to it. It has some volatility. And what do I, because eclipses are already kind of unpredictable, or like you can't really script things, and there's weird things that happen during eclipse seasons. So what do I mean by volatile? It's like, It's like if you put a pot of water on the stove and you start to boil it, and then you like walk away to do something else, and then you come back and all of a sudden the pot of water is like boiling over and you weren't even gone for that long. That's part of the energy. Volatile also in the sense, oh, I was just talking about this in one of my videos on TikTok, and it's about Jupiter. Jupiter is actually kind of strangely, that's where the moon is right now in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter is strangely going to be like relevant during this eclipse season, even though Jupiter has kind of nothing to do with the eclipses themselves. Mercury is what's ruling over the full moon in Virgo, and Mercury is ruling over Jupiter right now too. So that's another part of the volatility. And oh my gosh, I didn't even put that together till just now. Mars is Mars just went direct. Jupiter just went direct. So they both just got out of retrogrades, which means the masculine energy, no wonder the masculine energy that was coming through the cards, duh. The masculine energy is asking us to like, go, get it done now. Because the feminine is like grounding and resting and receiving and healing and understanding and like letting herself be. Venus retrograde, let her be, letting herself be. That is Venus retrograde. So the feminine is doing something else. The feminine is like, we're going to be over here doing our thing. Do what you need to do over there. And the masculine energy is very, 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 driven forward. It's time to start. Time to do the new. It's time to get up. It's time to go. It's time. I don't know what it's time for you, but it's time. I also know too, one of the consistent messages that Spirit's been bringing through for me for 7-8 months now. It's been a while. And that's all right. Sometimes they have to sink in, sometimes the messages come through and you got to let it like integrate. So one of the messages I've been receiving is that the new moon in Aries is just this like bright light, like brighter than we've seen in a while. We're coming out of a south node in Scorpio from 2021 to 2023. And then now the south node is in Virgo, and Virgo is where we bind up our contracts of exchange for Scorpio. So we're getting out of, starting in this eclipse season, we're getting out of some of the contracts of the underworld. So we're starting with this full moon in Virgo and then also the new moon in Aries, because the Aries is also ruled by Mars, and that's going to be connected to that south node that was in Scorpio several years ago now. That's crazy that it was several years ago, but it's true. It was a couple years ago, 2023. So several. It is a while ago. Goodness gracious. So that Mars energy being really like calculated and like domineering a little bit too. Not a bad thing, just what it is. And it's just what it is. Just what it is. Okay, Mars. Love you, Mars. Thanks, Mars. So yeah, the full moon in Virgo is March 14th. And then we have March 29th. Yeah, thank you, Jules. March 29th is going to be the new moon in Aries eclipse. So I want to go through, actually, let's talk about each eclipse. Let's talk about each one. I'm going to pull up the charts. I had a feeling I was going to do this. Let me get both of the charts pulled up. Got moon calendars. Thank you. Because I want to talk about each one, because they each have some kind of like weird players, like weird extra stuff going on. We need 2025. Yeah, they both have some weird, it's like each of them has different, the new moon in Aries is crazy, but then I started looking at the full moon that we're about to have soon. Recently, I wasn't paying as much attention to it until recently, but it's going to be something that is a little bit different. Also, let me see this. Yes. Please let me see the chart. Thank you. And then let me go back. I'm going to get the other one up. Oh, one too many. You ever skip back one too many pages? Because I did. Okay, here. And chart. Okay, so here we go. So let's look at the full moon in Virgo first. Yes. Part of the crazy thing about this one is that we're going to have Saturn is basically going to be conjunct with the sun. Saturn is basically going to be conjunct with the sun for the eclipse that's happening on the 14th, the full moon eclipse. Saturn's going to be based. And so when Saturn when Saturn and the sun get together, especially in Pisces, when Saturn and the sun get together in Pisces, oh, here's prophecy, divination, here's the messages you've been receiving and why they make sense. Here's everything that you've been doing and brewing and why it's here now. It's like Saturn is either going to, it's lessons, and it's learning. And because it's the sun, it's going to be really bright and really illuminated. We're going to be able to look at it really, really directly. And it's going to be a full moon. So it'll be like emotionally a lot. And then Mars also is ruled by Cancer, ruled by the eclipse. So we have like setting directions for ourselves and being really structure oriented about it because of where Saturn is placed with the sun. So there's just going to be a lot. It's not really to this eclipse, this full moon eclipse, it's not really to get anything done. It's just like planning and strategy. Okay, planning and strategy. What do I need to do? How do I need to get there? Who do I need to be? How do I need to move? What's the goal? What's the articulation? What's the manifestation also possibly? There could be some things illuminated of manifestations or creations that you've been asking for that are almost here. It's like you're not quite there yet, but they're almost here. I'm almost there. It's almost here. I'm almost where I need to be. It's like almost, almost, almost. And that's because of Pisces being focused on transitionary energy. We're like not always meant to land and ground in the Pisces energy, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, just understand that there's room to wiggle. We got room to wiggle a little bit. We got room to do some stuff. So this is also going to be too with that Mercury that's ruling over, because where's Mercury going to be? It's going to be in Aries. So oh my goodness, both eclipses okay, Spirit, thanks. Both eclipses are ruling themselves. Both eclipses are ruling themselves. Oh, golly gracious goodness. Because I knew that the new moon was the new moon on the 29th. I knew that one was because it's going to be in Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is in Cancer, so it's going to be ruled by the eclipse itself. And then we have the full moon in Virgo, ruled by Mercury, but Mercury is going to be in Aries. And Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is in Cancer, ruled by the moon. So the eclipse, the full moon eclipse, is going to be ruling itself through the filter of Mercury and Mars, through the filter. So it's like there's layers to it, but it's still going to be ruling over itself. Oh my goodness. And I saw the question, what does that mean? Yeah, from Rachel. What does that mean? That it basically what it means. Okay, so let's talk about some other astrology, like a how do I say this? Like another astrological example. Let's say that for the full moon, pardon me, for the full moon on the 14th, that's going to be in Virgo, that eclipse. Let's say that Mars was in another sign. Let's say that it wasn't going to be related to the eclipse at all. Then you would have the moon in Virgo ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. So Mars is going to be in some other sign, right? So then there's going to be another thread of relation. But that's not what is happening. What's happening is that we have the eclipse moon ruled by the Mercury in Aries, ruled by the Mars in Cancer, and Cancer is going to be ruled by the moon. So it's like this big circle where we just, how do I say? It's a loop. Thank you, Spirit. It's a loop. It's a loop. It's a loop. It's a loop. And so when you have like that powerful, energetic eclipse energy, this like profound moon, this profound feeling, the profound grounding, the profoundedness, wherever Virgo is in your chart, Aries is going to be related. Your moon is going to be related. The lunar nodes in your chart, the south node and the north node, are going to be related. Your Cancer placements, if you have any, Mars as well. There are several different areas that are going to be like lit up. And then if you're looking at house structures, it'll be your first, fourth, and sixth. This is for the full moon. That's a lot of notes, but you know what it is. So that's going to be for the full moon on the 14th. So about a week from now. Oh my goodness. And I can't believe it's already like a week. This is the calmest I've ever felt going into an eclipse season. I don't know about you, but I feel like more grounded than I normally do going into an eclipse season, which I'm very grateful for, because there's been eclipse seasons in the previous years that have been like ungrounding in maybe not the most fun ways. So I'm grateful for this one. It feels a little bit more homey. It feels a little less roamy and a little bit more homey. So yes, but okay, going back to the loop. So going back to the loop. The eclipse will then be filtered through communication, especially mental communication. So for people who have been working like just mental clarity and awareness, or you're someone who like thinks a lot, or you have a lot of things going on in your mind, this is probably going to especially affect you. And then also it's going to be very directional, because that's going to be Mars. It's also about priorities. You may want to stay home. I was just talking about it being homey. You may want to stay home, because Cancer in the astrological chart is about home. And so right now, with Mars being in Cancer, the home is going to be the place of retreat. Mars allows us to see kind of like where we retreat to. And if you're someone who is in the form of houselessness, remember that the heart is a home also. That's one of the things that Cancer reminds us, is that no matter where we are, our heart is our home. So however you are, that's why I mean stay home. That's a good, no matter where you are, stay home. Stay home here. Stay home here. Even if there's energies trying to pull you out of it, or there's people around you that are trying to unground you out of it, this is a good moon to stay home here in. Stay home here, because it'll go in a circle of processing, of mentally communicating, emotionally communicating, and then having there be like profoundness, the profoundness of Virgo, because that's what happens in the eclipses, right? We have the passing over of two different celestial bodies creating some kind of shadow. So for the full moon, that's the lunar eclipse. So the lunar eclipse, we're going to see we pass in between the moon and the sun. That's where we're going to be going. And then for the solar eclipse, then we're going to have the sun and then the moon and then us. So a little bit different. The moon will pass in between us and the sun. But for this one, for the Virgo eclipse, it's like here we go. We got a switch up, a flip up. We're doing also some exchanges. Exchange may not be exactly the right word. Oh my goodness. My nostrils are rearranging, and you know what? That's all right. There's so much change happening currently. I don't know about you, but like my head has been shifting. My nasal passages have been changing. The South Node in Virgo said, we're going to really sit with the body. That's what's been happening for me. We're really going to sit with the body. Okay, got it. Thank you. We're going to sit with the body. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's change some then. So there's going to be it's going to be centered around this full moon in Virgo. Virgo placements, your Mercury in 6th house. Those are going to be the center points of profoundness, the profundity, the like, just like, whoa, clarity. Oh, whoa, clarity. Oh, whoa, clarity. And again, this kind of motion where it's like, we're passing over something and there's things that are going to fall away and there's big new things that we're going to be doing. So it's a shift that is a gift. That's going to be for the full moon in Virgo. Anybody have questions about the full moon in Virgo before I move on to the Aries one? Yeah. Oh, thanks. The Saturn XO also. I love Saturn. So good. Thanks, Nat. I also need to drink water. Thank you for that, actually. Mindful of consumption. Understood. Rituals. I don't ever really do rituals for the eclipses because how do I say this? For me, when I'm working with eclipse energy, for me to get up and go do a ritual is going to take a lot of extra work. A lot of the times when I'm feeling eclipse energy, for me at least, again, this is for me. This is discern for yourself if this is going to apply, because there are some people who go through eclipses and do rituals and do specifics and do like direct works. But that's not how I handle eclipses. Because if you were to bind something up, or how do I say this? Say that you were to go out and you were to do a ritual and you were to like go out, go to the altar, go to nature, however you do your stuff, right? If you were to go and do a ritual on an eclipse, not only is it going to bind you up for this year and the year and a half that those eclipse nodes are together, it's also going to bind up so we have the South Node in Virgo, right? So say that you went and did a ritual on the full moon in Virgo. It's going to bind up every single Virgo moon cycle until we have another eclipse in Virgo with the South Node in 18 years. That's like forever. It's not. It's like a blink in time compared to the millions of years that the Earth has been around. Billions of years? Exactly. I don't know. And also, yeah, it's like if you do a very specific think, I don't know who I'm going to be in 18 years, you know? That's why I don't go and sit and do something that's like really, really targeted on eclipses. For me, eclipses are more just sitting and listening and understanding what have I been working with the Virgo moons over the previous years? What have I been working with the Virgo cycles? What have I been working with the placements in my, how have I been working with the placements in my sixth house? What's the Mercury placement? How have I been working with the Mercury in my chart? How have I been working with those things? What is it that I need to understand? And then how can I kind of make some redirections? And this is going to be, like I said, with this moon, it's going to be really good for directional like clarity and making some decisions as well. So that's going to again a shift that is a gift to taking a turn of the heart, changing some things up feels pretty good, and that'll set you on a course for the next, again, like year and a half, about a year. And I call this letting the moons be free. Would you want to bind up Mama Moon? I don't want to do that unless we are in a moon cycle that is not ruled by the eclipses, because moon magic is very powerful. So if you really wanted to, how do I say this? Again, the volatility about this eclipse season, curious, thanks Spirit for that one. The volatility in this season, both with the full moon and with the new moon. If you really wanted to do a work that's going to be like, this is going to be maybe, at least for me, from my perspective of clarity, some maybe directional applications of ritual during the full moon and the new moon eclipses that are up and coming. If you wanted to create a work, a ritual, if you wanted to create something that you are going to need to be elongated through time for a really long time, these are some pretty good eclipses to do that on. And I mean, like, depending, I don't know for sure, don't know about you, don't know about your magic, don't know because I don't know and I don't need to know what you're doing on a personal level. And also these eclipses, also because Saturn is involved in Pisces with the North Node. Oh goodness. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I heard that. Understood. If this is, you see, even like I'm a little tense about it. Like, it's like, this is really serious. If you were to do ritual stuff or like the work, if you were to do something that was like really intentional, it's gonna last for probably longer than you're around. It's gonna last for longer than you're probably gonna be here. Even if you like live to have a really, really old life. Even if you live to have a really, 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 really long life, and it's probably going to be here even still until you're, yeah. Unless you are really skilled as a moon witch, or like working with the moon and you know how to unweave things really, really well. Unless you're really good at that, it's probably going to be around for a long time. So something to just keep in mind if you really want to sit and bind up a ritual or bind up something in the eclipse season. If like I said, I like to let the eclipses be free. That's what I call it. If I'm not going to sit and put like an intentional binding, what do I need to see? Let it be free. What do I need to see? Let it be free. What do I need to see? Let it be free. Help me understand. Let me understand. And then with those understandings and those clarities that come through, then I'm able to ground things, land things, and make some decisions and directions on that. So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it, because that's oh, so serious. This is so serious. So serious to bind something up, especially not just because, and also especially because the way that the eclipses are going to be, it's also, both of them are going to be Aries influenced. Interesting. Both of them are going to be Aries and Mars influenced. So it's like activating something. And then the other part of Mars is Scorpio. And that's like a really, really, predatory is the word that's coming into my mind. There's other ways to describe it, but that's the one where that's the word that's coming into my mind right now. So it's like, we're not in that Mars energy with this. There's not anything in Scorpio right now, but the dark moon's moving into Scorpio during eclipse season. And then we're also going to have other Scorpio stuff that's happening. And part of this eclipse on the full moon in Virgo is that we're getting out of some of the contracts that we were in the previous Scorpio cycles. So this is like I said, this is a good moon to just sit and listen, understand, do your work as you like. Don't not go create stuff. Please go create stuff. That's not what I'm saying. But how do I just be really sure if you're going to do something that's like really intentional of like, I really want, or like a manifestation spell or like a ritual. I don't know what you do. Again, I don't know what the kind of work that you do is, but be specific. If you're going to go do something, be specific and be really, really sure. Be like 100, 120%, 130%, 131%. Be really sure. Be really sure, be really sure, be really sure. And be mature. Both. Be sure, be mature. Be sure and be mature. That's what I'll say about that. Oh my goodness. Because then if we go to the new moon solar eclipse on the 29th, dude, this eclipse blows my mind. This eclipse, what do I mean by blows my mind? There's like some unbelievable transits. Now, who planned this? It wasn't me. Wasn't me. Who did it? Who? Like an owl. Who did it? I want to know. Because the new moon solar eclipse, listen to this. Okay, we have the new moon solar eclipse in Aries on the 29th. And then it's like less than 24 hours after that, Mars retrograde goes into Pisces. So Mars retrograde is in Aries with the eclipse. Okay. Mars retrograde goes into Pisces, is conjunct with Neptune, and then Neptune basically immediately moves into Aries. Who planned it? And then Mercury retrograde is also going to be conjunct by several degrees, still a conjunction with Venus retrograde, the North Node, and then kind of Saturn. Saturn will be conjunct by by a couple degrees. With it's at 24 degrees, and then the North Node will be 26 degrees. Venus retrogrades 28 degrees, and then Mercury retrograde will be 29 degrees. It's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. It's like the new moon solar eclipse happens, and then immediately Neptune and Mercury are like, we have stuff to do. We have stuff to do. And we have spiritual stuff to do. We have a new start coming through because Neptune moving into Aries. Neptune, I'm pretty sure it's like 11 years, 15 years, 16 years. How long is it? I literally just looked it up. I think it's 16 years. Is it? Let me double check because I don't want to give you incorrect information. Neptune. Yes, that one, please. 14 years. 14 years? 14 years. It's a 165-year cycle. Yeah. So it's about to enter the day that we have the eclipse. The day that we have the eclipse, Neptune's like, peace out, guys. I'm headed into the energy of where the eclipse was. Peace out, Pisces. I'm done. I'm leaving home. Neptune is at home in Pisces. Neptune is at home in Pisces. So the day that we have a new moon solar eclipse closing out this really, really big cycle of elevating our minds and becoming more skilled mentally, we're closing that out. We're starting something new. We're going into the life that we've been asking for. This is closing one door and opening another simultaneously. And while that's happening, Neptune, that rules over where the North Node is now and has been at home, blows my mind, and has been at home there for 14 years, is saying, listen, I got my bags packed. Peace out. I'm going to Aries. We have a new beginning. We're starting something else. Spiritually speaking, in our transitions, with our veil work, we're doing something new. So are you coming? Because I don't care if you are, catch up. That's what this energy is. Okay, Neptune. Okay, Neptune. I don't care if you are, catch up. Neptune moves slow. Okay, so there's that. And I think the other interesting part of this preparation work, because I'm always really big on preparation when we look at like how the transits are transiting and like what's been playing into it. Another really interesting thing about this is that Saturn, the god of time, order, and structure, planet of time, order, and structure, is Neptune's father. So since March of 2023, so good. They've been at home in Pisces. The dad came to visit the son at the son's house, where we're practicing spirituality, where we're going through these transitions where we're making changes, where we're in a change of positions. Okay. Saturn, the father, came to that house where the sun rules over that house and what's happening in that house. And Saturn came through to help bring order and structure to everything that had been going on. And so now the sun, God's got a couple more things to wrap up. Saturn still has a couple things to wrap up, right? In Pisces energy. But the sun, Neptune, is like, okay, Dad, I'm finished. Listen, just lock up. When you're done, I've got to get going. So Neptune's moving into Aries, and then it's not until May 25th that Saturn is going to move into Aries. They do both retrograde back into Pisces at the end of the year. So this is honestly giving like we were meant to go on a road trip. Saturn and Neptune. We were meant to go on a road trip together, meant to go do this thing in Aries, which we can talk about that in a second too. We're meant to go do this thing in Aries, and we've got to go back and like get supplies, or there's other things we got to go back to the house for a second. We got to re-up on some stuff. We got to go back for just a moment. And then we can, get back out into the work. Because Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, I think it's going to be really interesting when it comes to a lot of different things. What Spirit has had on my heart around this is that's true, is that Aries is the children. The story of Aries is that the mother prays to Zeus to have the kids saved. It's a daughter and a son, and they're with their stepmother, and the mother sees that the stepmother is cruel, doesn't like the stepmom, but there's nothing really that she can do about what the situation is. So the mother prays to save her kids to Zeus. So Zeus sends the ram. The golden-haired ram, and it is this big ram. It's like a really big one. Sends the ram. The kids get on the ram. Mom's like, listen, this is the gift from Zeus, and you've got to go. So the ram flies over the ocean. The girl falls off. Sad. The boy makes it. Fantastic. He, what is it called? Shears the sheep, or like shears the sheep. It's golden hair. It's gold. So he gives the gold to the king of the lands where he landed as like payment of like, thanks for letting me be here. And then the ram itself is sacrificed and returned to Zeus. So it's like what the parents have asked for. It could also be our inner child. Like, what is it within your life where your inner child, what is it that your inner child wants that you've been working for? It's like inner child dreams, inner child realizations. What have you been doing as an adult or as an older person to make sure that that inner child, and if you are like a parent, someone who has kids, what are you doing also for them in their lives to help lift them up so that they don't have to be in the situations that have been inherited from other grown-ups and other family members and like people who maybe put us in harm's way where we didn't really want to be in harm's way, but we ended up being in harm's way. Ugh, gross. A lot of the times, if you put the work in, we get to move on, we get to leave. So the eclipse that's helping us walk into something new on the 29th, that new moon solar eclipse in Aries, it's very much saying to us like, okay, you asked for this, you prayed for this, you worked for this, here. You asked for this, you worked for this, you prayed for this, here. You asked for this, I'm gonna say it again, you asked for this, you worked for this, you prayed for this, here. Take it, it's yours now. Take it, it's yours now. You're at the beginning. You're at the start of things. You've done the work, whatever the work was. You're allowing yourself to be here. And then immediately Neptune, the son of Saturn, okay, if we're looking at that dynamic, then Saturn would be the grandfather. So the son of Saturn, Neptune, comes in and is like, okay, kids, what do you need spiritually? Like, you're in this new place. We still have some maybe transitions. We need to adjust. We need to get some things taken care of. It's a little bit different here. Who are you now? How are we working with things now? What are the sites? What's that like? It's about also Aries is about birthrights and having birthrights because it's literally like the start of things. So what rights are you working with this time around? Every time that we go through an experience, we earn a different right. So if you look at how would I explain this? It's like when we're born with the right to breathe. For most of us, like it's like we're born with different rights. Everyone is born with human rights And throughout life, like your name gives you a different right. You have a right to be who you are in your naming. Then there's other rights as it comes into like a spiritual practice and like spiritually practicing with things. And that's what Neptune is coming in to Aries to offer is like, what rights do the children need? What rights do the kids need to help lift them up out of these harmful, possibly harmful situations? So Neptune is there to like, how do I say this? It's like bestow more gifts upon us while at the same time, like clearing paths for us. There's going to be, for people who are starting something new within their spirit practices and they live their life in spirit, it might not be something new within your spiritual practice. It could be that you're a spiritual practitioner and you're doing new things in other areas of your life as well. That's also applicable for this. There's going to be, when Neptune crosses into Aries basically right after this eclipse, it's going to be kind of immediately like road opener is the word that I'm hearing. Like it's like road opener, road clearing. And if you have blockages, those are supposed to be, that's like Neptune it's there for a reason, whatever that reason might be. But yeah, Neptune moving into Aries basically at the same, it's like right after. I don't have the exact time of it, but it's like right after that one. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. That's wild. That's crazy to me because then when Saturn comes through, it's like, okay, listen, you've had a couple months because that's at the end of May. This is at the end of March. So yeah, you've had a couple months. You've had a month or two to get used to this energy. You've had a month or two to understand this. You've had a month or two. So like now we have to start the homework. Now we're going to be learning about it. Okay, you're in this new world now. What are you learning about? We're going to learn some stuff. Okay, Saturn and Aries. So that will come through at the end of May. But at first, we're introduced to the new chapter, the new start with more of the Neptunian energy, which I think is going to be very interesting. One thing I've been saying about this kind of whole entire year is that people who practice in the spirit are going to have a leg up or like a upper hand with things in our physical world. So like people who might run into dilemmas or people who might have things that are going wrong in their life, people who are spiritual practitioners are going to be able to have situations handled very quickly. Thank you, Spirit. And there's going to be a little bit more of a like Spirit's just more around and more active with the way that the transits are transiting. And also, I mean, look at the world. So there's that too. That's what we got going on with both of the eclipses. That's what to expect, what to really like, what to really look at, Yeah, it's definitely gonna be an interesting season. I kind of want to pull some cards again. Now that we have the astrology down, now that we have the astrology spoken of, talked about, I want to put some more cards out. What do we want? I feel like I need to be specific. Is there a reason we need to be specific? Let's pull these cards, actually. You know what? I got a new deck of cards recently. If you're on my live stream, the previous time I was live, you saw me talk about them. They look like this. They're crazy cool. They're crazy cool. He's like sitting over his tools like this. Long beard. But they're just really weird. They're really weird. Their spirit is really different. So I want to sit with these ones. What is it that we need to see about this eclipse season? Unpredictabilities. Oh, fate? Got it. Oh, fate? What'd you ask for? What did you ask fate for? What fate work have you been doing? What crossings of roads have you been doing? Wishing on toads. What crossing of roads? Wishing on toads. It's like the wish on the frog. What have you been doing? Could be uncrossings of roads too, crossing yourself out of something. This is a season of fate. Okay. What did you consecrate also? Fate has a lot of weight in this season. Fate has a lot of weight in this season. Fate has a lot of weight. A lot of weight. What did you consecrate? What spell works have you done? What castings have been woven? Really look back through. What have you spoken to the spirits about? What have you maybe prayed about? It's like this is a season where you're answered. We don't always get answered by the spirits. That's crazy. We don't always get answered by the spirits. They don't always send answers. Sometimes they listen and they're like, "Shoo, little fly. I get it though. Okay, flies are annoying. Every once in a while, if they're around, similarly, I get it. I understand. And also, what'd you ask for? Because this is not a season where they're going to say, shoo, little fly. This is a season where they say, we were listening the whole time. We were listening the whole time. We heard you in the darkness when no one else did. We heard you when you were a kid. We heard you. 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 So we've seen you make your wishes. We've seen you weave your fates. We've seen what you've done with your magic. We've seen you work. We've seen you. 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 We see you. I also heard kid. It's like we're all children of her. We see you, kid. We see you. Okay, so fate's gonna consecrate in this season. Crossings, fate's gonna consecrate. And what I see for those of you who work with the runes, oh my goodness, that was a lot. That was a lot. But, oh my goodness, that was so much. That sight that I just was able to see. I saw like a calendar this way though. It was flat and it was like a map for the season. So it was like the days and the days. It was like a trail, kind of like it reminds me of like a board game, Candyland, or like some sort of like when you follow the trail, right? But each square is a day. And I just saw over the whole entire thing this big X. And with the runes, that's a gebo, and it's like it means the gift. And it's like when fate crosses, when fate offers a gift, the crossings of fate, gebo. There's more to it than that, but that's how I read it and have been reading it for some time now. A crossing of fate. What have you been studying? It's the card Grimoire. Interesting. Grimoire. What have you been studying? What have you been learning about? Oh my goodness. What have you been studying? What have you been learning about? That was really different. Okay, cool. What have you been studying? What have you been learning about? If you're studying over the previous, it's like throughout your entire life when it comes to what I hear is especially spiritual things, it's because it's the grimoire. It's not just about studies. It's about like specifically spiritual studies. So things that you've been specifically spiritually studying for your life, what have you been learning about? I know for me, I'm going to reflect on this. I feel like I need to just to give some maybe like direction or like reference of kind of like what I feel like the energy is being asked of, at least on my end. So discern for yourself if that's a real thing for you. But I'm feeling that's true. I'm feeling interesting. I'm feeling like ancestral works is something I've been studying, meditation, the mysticism, the gifts of the psyche, the gifts of the mental, the gifts of the spirit, the gifts of like physical magics. There's kitchen magic that I've learned about, growth magic, plant magic, healing magic. What else? Numerology is something I studied a lot of at one point. There's a lot of different things I've picked up, to be honest with you, but that's a good art magic. Also, art magic is something that I love. It's so good. So there's like different kinds of magic we can cross over and cross through and study. So really look at like what have you been studying? Because what I hear is like accumulation. Like this is an accumulation of a manifestation. Accumulation, not a degradation, not to degrade. Like there's not going to be a grade. You're not getting graded on it. It's just like, what have you done? There's something with everything. It's like accumulation. What has accumulated? There's a cross because of that. Something's crossing you because of that. What have you been studying? You're not getting graded on it. It's not a pass or fail. It's a creation. It's a process of creation. So what have you been studying? That's going to create something to ground and cross you in this season. What have you been studying? That's going to ground something and cross something through in this season. Interesting. And it's for you. It's for you. That one feels simple. It's for you. Interesting. Ooh. And two? No. Here? Yes. Inspired? Dancing of the Devils. Did you dance with the devil? Did you dance with the devil? Okay. Did you dance with him? Did you dance with the devil at one point? Because that's what's coming. Look at the picture on those two beings, you know? The two beings that are on there. It's like dancing with the devil. That's what I heard when I looked at it. Dancing with the devil. Dancing. Who went and danced with the devil? And you did. This is not something that's happening right now. Also, for anybody who's ever shaved their head, interesting. Dance with the devil and shaving the head. Something of inspiration. Inspiration. There's a consecration through that process. Did you go and dance with the devil? Did you go and shave your head? Okay. Leave some things unsaid. And also, there's going to be some sort of like, it's like you had to walk through it independently and you learned a lot and you studied a lot and you earned something. You earned something. I feel something like physical in my hands doing this. I don't know what it is. It's like paper. You earned something. You earned something. Going through and dancing with the devil, you earned something. What'd you learn? You didn't dance with the devil forever. You didn't even really like make a deal with the devil. You just said, "Yeah, I'll go dance with the devil." Maybe you didn't even realize you were dancing with the devil, but you earned something. However, you went through that experience, you earned something. You earned it. You earned it. You earned it. You earned it. If you earned it, you earned it. You earned it. I just want to keep doing this. I just keep wanting to like. It's like grab onto it. That's what it feels like. It feels good to hold. I don't know what this is. It also feels like clay energy or like earthen energy. Earthy, earthy, earthy. Earthy, earthy, earthy. I love it. I'll sit. That's fine. That's good. Wow. You earned something. Going and dancing with the devil. What else? It feels like there's a couple more. Feels like there's a couple more. Ooh, a mirror closing. Thank the gods. Oh, thank you. I know that there's some mirrors that I need closed. The mirror's closing. It's closing. It's closing. It's closing. It's closing. It's closing. It's closing. You remember those places you don't want to be anymore? It's closing. The mirror is closing. Sometimes we're kind of like forced to sit and go through reflection work. I don't like the way I am. I don't like the person I've become. I don't like the decisions I've made. I don't like who I'm surrounding myself with. How can I change? How can I heal? How can I grow? Reflection, you know? The mirror that you have been kind of forced to work with. That's what I hear is like force. Of course, if you're going to go dance with the devil, sometimes things have to force. So it's like, well, you've been forced to go through and forced to work with and forced to understand. You're leaving it now. You're leaving it. You get to be done. I also, it's like call up the new. Call up the new. Call up the new. Here you go. Call up the new. There's one more. There's one more. I'm not sure yet. Hold on. Oh, it's going to find me, apparently. It's going to find me? Interesting. It's the goat. The inner child is the goat. How non-ironic. I wonder if the person who made this deck was like a jokester, trickster person, because that's really funny. The inner child is the goat. Oh, why do I feel like an old mother laughing at children's jokes with that one? Ridiculous. Oh goodness. Inner child is the goat. It also has the ram on it, which as we were talking with the Aries stuff earlier, the story of the ram. The inner child is the goat. Well, okay, it's a goat on it, but my head said ram apparently. So the goat. It also has a leaf on its face, like right here. The goat does. It's like right centered in it. Interesting. The inner child is gonna find you, because that's what happened. I don't know if you saw me shuffling that. You know, it fell out. It was like fell into my heart too. The inner child will find you. That's one of the things over the previous probably like week and a half. One of the things I've been sitting with and understanding in myself is letting my little kid lead. Letting the little kid lead. Sometimes the big kid, sometimes the adult has to be in charge of stuff. But especially having the North Node in Aries, it's like we had to take care of the little kid. The big kid had to be in charge. At least that's how it was for me. So now recently, the previous, again, like week and a half, really since we've been in this moon cycle, I guess that's an important note, or important to note. It's been apparent to me that my inner kid needs to lead. Okay, what do you want to do today? Okay, how are we going to move today? Okay, you want to sit and read books? Cool. You want to go and create? Cool. You want to sit and read more books? Okay, cool. You want to sit and scroll on TikTok? Okay, cool. You want to go, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? You want to just sit and think about stuff? Okay, we can do that. You want some hot cocoa? Okay, yeah, we can do that. So I've been letting my little kid lead, and yeah, I've been letting my little kid lead. And if that's what you need, let the little kid find you. Because if sometimes we go and look for the little kid, they kind of hide. It's like a game of hide and seek. Little kids like to play games. Little kids like to play games, and they're smart. Oh, you're looking for me? Oh, you're looking for me? Let me tuck myself away so you can't see me. Haha. Let me tuck myself away so you can see me. Haha. I'll come and find you later. Little tricksters they are. Little jokesters, little ha-has. Little ha-has. And I even asked with this card about the inner kid. I wonder if the person who wrote this deck was like a trickster kind of person. That makes sense. You know what? Little kids also are really good, at least for me. My inner kid's really good at tricking me into doing what I need to do. I've been feeling like, for example, I've been feeling like I have this creative project. I've been feeling for literally since the previous new moon solar eclipse in Aries. That's crazy. Literally since then. Literally since then. I've been thinking to myself, I'm on the verge of something. I have this creativity. I can feel it. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what this genius project is, but I can feel it. It's bubbling under the surface. I don't know where to find it. I don't know where it is. And since I've been letting my little kid lead for this moon cycle, oh yeah, that it makes sense now. It started. That project started. Here we go. It's something that has been happening already. I'm putting together my grimoires from years and years now, years and years of studies. It's like years and years of studies that I've already been creating, already been manifestating. And I was like thinking about it, and that I don't know if you can't see it on either one of my screens really, but I have on the floor over here, you can see my books, right? You can see my books. Okay, that middle shelf is full of all of my grimoires and my journals. I'm not going to put my journals into the book, but there's a lot of stuff in there that's like grimoire related stuff. So I'm collaging everything into, because there is a whole bunch of journals. It's not just one. So I'm going to collage it into one big book. And then I'm going to put it out for people to go and read. That's been my genius idea. That's been bubbling under the surface for a long time. And it's like years and years of work that I'm going to be able to put in there. But I couldn't have found it without my inner kid. We went on like a play date. I went to go to the craft store, me and my inner kid. We got some new craft supplies. It was beautiful. And I was like, yeah, I think that's what I need to do. But I couldn't have done it without my inner kid. So let your inner kid find you. Lots of inner kid stuff. Because then it's also too, the new moon solar, to bring it full circle, the new moon solar eclipse that's happening in Aries, that closure, the ending of the cycle and the beginning, we're ending a cycle that has kept our inner kid in some sort of box or some sort of like lock or some sort of like something that our inner kid didn't want to be in is now done. And we get to move on and move forward and move out of whatever that is. So it makes sense that throughout eclipse season, the inner kid is going to be coming up, because it's like, okay, well, if we're getting out of that, I have to land somewhere, I have to land somewhere. So let it land, let it find you, and let it help you understand. Take time over the eclipses to, sit with yourself, be with yourself, however that might look and what that might need, what you might need. Yeah. What's after inner child work? Oh gosh, well that depends on what your inner kid needs, you know? That depends on what your inner kid needs. Could be sleep. Does your inner kid need a nap? Sometimes that's the truth, honestly. It could be a conversation with an adult. Sometimes the inner kid needs to talk to the adult. Sometimes the inner kid needs to lead us. Sometimes the inner kid, like what comes after the inner kid work depends on whatever you're doing with your life, you know? Yeah. It depends. It depends. It depends. An inner kid would be like any phase younger than now, really. Yeah, the inner kid being like way, way young, for sure. That's Aries is like the very beginning of our lives. And also it's for me, the inner kid has been coming in different heights. You know how you grow up? Hello. Different heights. So that's been something I've been working with too. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Interesting. Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. I just looked at the bottom of the deck because I felt like it was important. It's the Liberation card, Marie Laveau. That's what's on the bottom of the deck right now. With snake and knowledge. Okay, there's one more. What's the other one? Curious. And female empowerment, Starhawk. Huh. There's a lot of like figures in this deck that I don't know of. I don't know who Starhawk is. I'll have to do some research. I love that. So interesting. Interesting. Female empowerment, the snake, and liberation. Marie Laveau. The snake also is knowledge. How I heard scary. I heard scary. How scary? It's not how scary to realize you are free and that you hold all the responsibility. Oh goodness. Holding that responsibility. That's true. What have you been asking to be free of or free from? That's another thing grounding in the season. What have you been asking to be free of and free from? I know for me, that's a heavy weight to let go of. And also, now you hold the responsibility. Okay, don't get wrapped up in it again. Don't allow yourself to return to it. Don't go back. Don't go back. That's crazy. I heard can't go back. Can't go back. Jeez. Jeez. Scary to realize you're free. You know the excitedness? Interesting. Interesting. Jealousy is a weird thing. There's a couple different things that I would like connect to that. Jealousy being one of them. Because if you've worked for something and now you're free of whatever you didn't want and you have what you want, think about how many people are still stuck in cycles and stuck in what they're stuck in that don't want to be there. And you just got blessed. Oh, that is the part for me that's a little frightening. That's for me and I would attribute that to jealousy is what I would attribute that to. Jealousy, cruelty is the tool of jealousy is one of the things I used to say. I just saw I talking about getting my grimoires kind of put together in collage. I just saw that earlier as I was putting that together. So yeah, can't stop, won't stop. Understood. It takes so much work to be alive, dude. It does. Dude, it takes so much work to be alive. Literally this weekend and then early this week, as I was starting to let more of my inner kid heal and like work through things, my inner kid was like, dude, I'm not doing the dishes. Dude, I'm not doing them. Dude, even my inner kid saying things like dude and cool and whatever. Dude and cool and whatever. Sure, those can be the three for now. That's great. Dude and cool and whatever. Cool. Yeah, my inner kid was like, yeah, I'm not doing the dishes. Like adult me can do them later. We have playtime right now. I'm not doing them. Yeah, so good. How do I do this work? Do you mean how do I do inner kid work? Or what do you mean? And I might have an answer for you. So great to see you in real time. So good to be here with you real time, so good. I've been wanting to get more on my live streams recently, so I'm grateful to be here too. Spirit's been calling me back into live streams. Spirit's like, you gotta sit and talk. You gotta sit, you gotta read. Okay, Spirit, I'll sit, I'll read, I got it. So I'm grateful to be here too, for sure. To connect with the inner child. Hi to you, hey. Hello, hello. Oh, so good. Thanks for being over on the YouTube too. Thank you for that. So good. There is what's today, the 5th? There's going to be a podcast coming out tomorrow. Probably it'll cover eclipse season because it's the 6th. Probably I'll cover the eclipse in that next one, the full moon Virgo eclipse in that next one. So that'll be up on YouTube if anyone is interested in it. But the question for the inner kid work, how do I do it? How do I do inner kid work? It depends on what I need. It depends. Recently it's been a lot of just letting my inner kid like exist, be the leader, take charge of things. It's like adult me kind of got lost in the sense of I got lost in the sauce. Adult me was adult me was a little lost in the sauce. Adult me was like, I don't know where to go now. I have everything I asked for. Everything I wanted is like a real thing now. So like, what do I do? I haven't dreamed in a long time. I haven't done so. Like I had to let my inner kid take over. My inner kid is the dreamer. So I had to let my inner kid take over and bring some things through. But it depends because there was times in my life where I was going through really, really hard situations, and my relationship with my inner kid then was really, really different. My relationship with my inner kid then was more of like, we have to learn these lessons, and I'm going to care for you, and I'm going to love you on the way there. But like, I have to be able to take care of us in the middle of this hardship, and I have to be able to take care of us in the middle of what's going on. So I can't have you be the leader right now. I have to be the one who's in charge, and I have to get us up and out of this. So I think there's maybe like a couple different perspectives of it. There's also been times in my life where like I kind of like grew up and became a woman. There's like defining moments in my life where the inner kid also kind of had to take a back seat. But then once the kind of like hard hit or the blow was over, then inner kid could show back up and be like, poke at adult me and like, hey, are you okay? Like, maybe we should go and do some fun stuff again because this is boring. This is horribly boring. Do you want to go have fun? Because what is this? So yeah, it depends on the time period of my life, how I'm doing inner kid work. But definitely recently, my inner kid has been like, just let me be free, dude. Let me just go create and dance and be happy and sing songs and, eat takeout food, and I'm not doing the dishes. Like, that's what my inner kid work has been recently. Hello to you too. Hi, Chris. Hello. Outlet is the movies. Me too. And also I watched so many of my favorite kid movies at one point that I got sick of them. I might have to go back. So good. Sending the support out to people and doing the work there, supporting. How do I say this? One of the things that Spirit has been specific with me recently about supporting other people is that right now is a lot of time of solitude, and that solitude being in union with community. It's like, how do I say this? Exactly how I said it. That's how I'm going to say it. That's how I'm going to say it. Yeah. The solitude being in union with community, or like being the individual in union with community. And like, there's a support there. It's a lot less, how do I say, codependent. Not that that's bad. It's not bad to call on other people and to ask for help. And maybe that's just in my world, but that's something I've been seeing recently. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's a little different. But also recently, because I'm going to go back to the inner kid thing, inner kid work. One of the things I've been realizing recently is the inner kid dreams that haven't come true yet. Because adult me was like, where do I go now? What do I do now? Where do I go now? I don't know where to go. So inner kid me was like, well, let me show you first of all. And secondly, there's like dreams that haven't come to fruition that you already dreamt of. So let's remember those before we move on to something else. Let's remember those before we move on to something new. Those have been good too, Yeah. Is there a or multiple books that I would recommend that are science and also spiritual? I know you love those. There's one book called Power versus Force. Is it Power? I'm pretty sure it's Power. It's been a long time since I've read that book. I don't have a copy of it anymore. I lent it out to somebody and just it didn't ever get returned to me. I don't talk to them anymore. It's a good book though. It's basically, how do I say this? It's a book on power versus force. They come up with this whole, they go through like all these different studies and all these different, it's really interesting. All these different studies, let me actually explain it instead of just remembering it and not saying anything about it. They go through they set up the system of like I think it's like 200, it's like 0 to 1,000, but then under 200 if the test or the strength of the power versus force, again it's been a while, that's just what the first one that popped into my head, that if it's under 200 then it doesn't have like exponentiality to it or growth to it, but if you can somehow kind of like get through the resistance of that period, you'll be able to fairly easily be in the growth area of it. They say it way differently, and they use a whole bunch of different examples for a whole bunch of different areas of life and like different studies. That one was pretty good. There's a bunch of ones that I read when I was younger that I do not remember right at this moment. There's a lot of books I've read and then gifted to other people, which is great for them, but I really love my library, so it is what it is. Oh, so good. Did I say what my favorite inner child outlet was? I don't know that I have a favorite, to be honest with you. Little kid me, little kid me has a lot of creativity, to be honest. Little kid me was alone a lot, so little kid me had a lot of free room to go do whatever little kid me wanted to do. So I was doing a lot of different, like dancing is one of my favorites. One of, not like my favorite, but dancing. I've been dancing since I was a kid. Yeah, I've been dancing since I was a kid. What else? Dancing, not necessarily like trained dancing. I did sort of train dancing for a while, but just like dancing because I like to dance. And then painting for sure, like drawing, painting. I like doodling, to doodle, to doodle, and I love reading. I love reading fantasy books. I just got a new one recently. What is it? The Inheritance trilogy. The Inheritance trilogy by I think it's NKJ, and I can't remember the name of the author, but the Inheritance trilogy. I picked it up though because of what I read about the author. This is the first book I've ever done that with. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. It's a really good book, honestly. And I think I'm probably going to read more of their books after I finish this one. It's about the gods being imprisoned in human bodies and like it's really interesting. It's really interesting. It's written by, let me go get it. Hold on. Let me go get it. Ooh, the sitting. So the Inheritance Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. This one. It's all 3 books in one. It's so I love big books, so I got the one that had all of them packed into the same one. But the gods are imprisoned into human bodies, and there's like this whole fallout with the gods, and so now the gods have to be commanded. They're called the Aramari peoples, the Aramari race of peoples. It's like those are the people who oversee everything, all the other kingdoms, because the first book is a thousand kingdoms. I'm pretty sure 1,000. What is it called? Hold on. 100,000 kingdoms is a lot more than that. Not just 1,000, 100,000 kingdoms. So it's like those they sit in their castle and oversee all the other castles of like the entire space. It's really crazy. And there's a lot in here. How do I explain this on a live stream? How do I say these words? It's a lot about like race theory and like the way that the world works in that. But it's like mixed in with gods. It's mixed in with gods and magical powers and like life and death. And I'm really hoping, and like there's a whole bunch of like, I don't know if I want to, not a whole bunch of it. There's just the first introduction of like the romance side of things recently. It's very interesting. And the gods there's a child trickster god. Curious. There's a god called Nahadoth, which is like the darkness. crazy, actually, honestly. There's two other ones that are female. One of them, they're both warrior spirits. I don't remember their names or the discernment of them in this moment, but there's a bunch of gods also who've already passed on. So it's really interesting because the main character, we can talk about it, sure. The main character, that's my favorite, yeah. The main character, she is half Aramari and half, I can't remember the name of Dar. She's half Aramari and half Dar. And the Dar peoples are warriors where their women lead them. And that's the darker skin color. And then the Aramari are the like leaders. Those are the ones who sit above everybody. And so the daughter of the Aramari leader, I can't remember what they call him. Descartes is his name, but he has a title. He calls her back in. She's like the leader of her people over here. She spent her whole life over here. The daughter of that leader had the granddaughter. The granddaughter gets called back in. So the start of the book is the granddaughter getting called back in. And it's like very clear, very quickly that she's probably gonna soon, and that people don't want her there. People don't want her there. People do not like her. People don't respect her. People don't want her around. And then there's people from another like group or like another kingdom. And basically she comes up to the main character and she was like, so are you Aramari, or are you this like group of people? And she's trying really hard to be. And then eventually she figures out, she's like, no, I'm not. Like, yes, I am by blood. And that's why I'm here, but like, I'm not. And I need to stick to that. So it's pretty interesting. It's a really good book. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're interested in books about gods and kingdoms and magic and stuff. Yeah. I was looking forward to sitting down and reading over the weekend. I haven't taken time off to just sit and read in a while, so it was pretty good. It was a pretty good. I got how far? 234. Oh wow. Okay, what a number. Going to buy that now. Yeah, it's good. I don't know the next book in here. I don't know what the next ones are called, just because it's like hidden in the pages. So I don't know what the next two books are. But apparently she had, cause the reason I was saying this earlier, the reason that I got this book was because of what they say about the author at the beginning. Normally I read like like what's the story about? I didn't care. I was like, I can tell what the story, I didn't actually care. I was like, I don't care what this is about. I like the author and I like the look of this. So I'm going to get it. But I'll read you the author, like biography, what description? I don't know if I want to use the word description, but the author's space. N.K. Jemisin is the first author in the genre's history to win 3 consecutive Best Novel Hugo Awards, all for her Broken Earth trilogy. And that's why I was saying, I think now that I've read I devoured 234 pages. I think I'm going to read that one next, since it has all the awards to it. But I'm kind of grateful I started with this one. So her work has also won the New York Times. No, her work has also won the Nebula, Locus, and Goodreads Choice Awards. She's currently a reviewer for the New York Times Book Review, and she has been an instructor for the Clarion and Clarion West writing workshops. In her spare time, understood. In her spare time, she's a gamer and a gardener, and is also single-handedly, this is one of my favorite lines, she's single-handedly responsible for saving the world from King Ozymandias, her dangerously intelligent ginger cat, and his phenomenally destructive sidekick, Magpie. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to like this book a lot. So I didn't even read what it was about. I didn't even read what it was about. I was like, I don't care. That author like blurb was exactly that. I'm sold. We're getting it. So yeah, but that's the first time I've ever done that with a book. I usually care about what the story is and like what the storyline is. And so I was driving back home from the bookstore and I was like, I'm going to learn a lot about myself reading this book, because I didn't even care what the story was. I just cared about the author. Interesting. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But yeah, that's one of my favorite pastimes, is reading books. I like history books and like reading stuff to learn stuff too. But history book, that's like homework for me. That's when spirit sends me things and it's like, you got to read this and you got to like, get familiar with it or study up on what's happened contextually in our time period, in our time frame. So I have books that I'm reading right now that are like that too, but that's like schoolwork, that's like study work for me. So yeah, I really like this book. It's good. So that for sure. And then honestly, little kid me really likes witchy stuff. I'm born on Halloween, so I've always really liked witchy things. So that's the other thing that I do. Little kid me is a witch. Little kid me was practicing magic before little kid me knew that it was magic. so, so that's the other thing that I like to do is practice magic. Practice magic, read the stars, and be in the craft that I'm in. That's also true. Yeah. Yeah. I think honestly that's going to be the live stream for the night. We talked a lot about inner kid work at the end. Unless anybody else has been in here and has questions about what is like up and coming. But I think I'm going to leave it. If we don't have any other questions about the eclipses or like of stuff that's up and coming, I feel a conclusionary point. So if there's conclusionary space, then we can move through it. Just bought the book. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Oh, so good. Yeah, thank you all for being here too. The replay will be on YouTube for people who are over on TikTok. It'll be on YouTube. And that way, if you want to go back and like re-listen to what was said about the eclipses, then and like the card stuff also, the reading that we did, that can be like revisited. Because I know I like to sometimes, even I sometimes will go back and revisit the readings I do. I'll be like, oh yeah, what did I say? Okay, I gotta go back. I haven't done it in a while, but there was one that I did like a while back. I had to go sit with it. So yeah. But anyways, I think that's gonna be good. Enjoy the eclipse season as it is possible. It is possible actually to enjoy this one. That's good. Okay, I'm gonna get back to doing some more video work off the live stream. I'll talk to you guys later. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.